Now we're going to try and hope I don't make anybody cry. We've gotten a letter from India Whitcomb, the woman in the Send a Blonde to Africa program. India Whitcomb, resident of the town of Aquina, a lifelong dyed-in-the-wool islander. She's a commercial fisherman, part-time farmer. She's a beekeeper. She's from Aquina, lives up on the Chief Moship Trail. She's a graduate of the West Tisbury Charter School. Actually, the first graduating class of the charter school was blessed with India Whitcomb. Then, of course, she was off to Bennington College in Vermont, where I tell her that she majored in compliments, but that wasn't her field of study, of course. Now she is in Namibia with World Teach, which was funded by money that was put in jars at the counter at the Scottish Bakehouse. She was funded by money at various island fundraisers, by the Yoga Center had a benefit for her, by people that heard her story and reached into their pockets and left some money in the jar to send the blonde to Africa. We've been carrying reports as they have been made available. We've been carrying them here on the Friday Fish and Farm Report. India even came here in person at one time to tell us what the future looked like now. The future is now. And it's a 3-page email from Namibia. I wished I had a woman's voice in me that I could read it in her voice. But you kind of stuck with me starting at the beginning. It says, "Hello all. So alas, I am here in Namibia. It has been quite a journey, and I feel like I've been here for a lifetime, though it has been only a month. I will do my best to describe my experience thus far and keep you updated as the year unfolds." These are the words of India Whitcomb. "I will begin by saying that it is a very interesting country, different from anywhere I have been. I've spent the past few weeks in a very intense orientation, becoming acquainted with the culture and life here. Our training took place in the capital city of Windhoek, then a week for a teaching practicum at the secondary school in North Windhoek in a big metropolitan city. It is said to be the cleanest city in Africa, and I wouldn't doubt it. There is fine architecture, lovely parks, and a very diverse population. Really, just at the Pick and Pay grocer, you will see all the different people, the Afrikaners, the San, who are the Bushmen, the Nama, the Ovambo, and the Himba. Women, right there next to you in the produce aisle at the Pick and Pay grocer, wearing animal hides, their skin rubbed with red ochre, bare-chested and all. The ride up north was eye-opening as well. While I was well aware that Namibia has one of the lowest population densities in the world, seeing the actuality of this was a bit shocking. For 10 hours we drove in 100-degree heat in an old school bus from the 1950s across a landscape of mostly brush and grassland, with an occasional acacia or boa tree, with mountains in the distance. There were antelope, and warthogs, baboon, and beautiful brightly colored birds. Every now and then you might see homesteads, a circling of mud huts with thatched roofs, a bit of cultivated land, and cows and chickens and many, many goats. For the most part, though, I could not help but wonder where were all the people. Really, it is a vast and mostly empty land to travel. The majority of Namibia's population live in the north, though, and as we came further and further in that direction, the landscape began to change, with people and homes and towns not so far and few between. We spent a week in Angwadeva, where we worked at a secondary school doing experimental teaching and getting a better idea of the challenges we would soon be faced with on our own. And there are many challenges. It was the overall condition of the school that was first most apparent. The schoolyard and the classrooms had been so neglected I had trouble believing at first that school was actually in session. The best way I can describe this is to say that once it's broken, it is broken. And this goes for the windows, the doors, the walls, the chairs, the desks, the toilets, pretty much anything you could imagine. The school is set up in blocks, and there is a hostel where the learners eat and sleep. We stayed in one hostel that was not in use. It was basically a cement room with bunks and bars on the windows. There was something very military about it. I found it a bit sad. Could understand how challenging it would be to find inspiration in learning in such an environment. We did have access to water and electricity during our stay, some of the time. When I had read about the school system in Namibia, I often came across the term under-resourced, and I think now that would have to be an understatement. While the actual structure of the classroom is in distress, there are not enough chairs or desks or books or writing materials for the learners, as they are called here. It is not uncommon to have some learners standing through a class or sitting on the floor, on the dirt floor. Many of the kids walk from far distances to come to school and then have trouble staying awake in class, not out of boredom, but because they are just tired and hungry. Above everything that is challenging, though, the kids are amazing. They are bright and earnest and full of hope, and they are why I am here. After another week of training back in Windhoek, we left each other and set out independently for our individual sites. I spent all day traveling to the little village of Elam, way up north, close to the Angolan border. And so just now I am beginning to settle into the village where I will be spending the next year teaching. Elam is in the Omusati region. It is home to the Ovambo people. The nearest town is called Ashakuku, and from there Elam is far down a long dirt road. It is said that Elam was the home of a great king at one time. And so the people feel a great sense of pride in claiming Elam as their birthplace. It is a very pretty village with white sand roads, acacia, palms, cows, chickens, and goats. They're funny little shops they call shebeens here, all painted in bright colors. You can buy Coca-Cola in glass bottles. You can buy machetes, fantastic cured meats, toilet paper, and other bare necessities. There's a very large cemetery in the center of the village, 2 churches, a health clinic started by some missionaries back in the 60s, and there's a secondary school called Ashapala, where I now live and work. Ashapala is a hostel school. Half of the learners board here, the other half come from neighboring villages in the surrounding area. There are about 500 learners, grades 9 through 12. Currently, I'm teaching 11th grade English and computers to 11th and 12th grade students. The school has 6 computers. They have had the internet in Namibia for about a year, but no one yet knows how to use it. Most of the learners have never used a computer at all, so this is very exciting for them. AIDS and HIV education is a big part of the Namibian curriculum. It is mandated by the government to be taught through every subject, so that this will be a big part of my teaching here. Namibia comes in 3rd in all of Africa for the highest rates of infection in all of Africa. I will be taking up extracurriculars too, maybe some geography for the next term, but for right now I have plenty. These once again are the words of Indaya Whitcomb, an Aquina commercial shell fisherman, 24 or 5 years old, part of the Send a Blonde to Africa program. I'm reading the last part of her email, the first correspondence we've received since she arrived on site, where she'll be for the next year, affiliated with the World Teach program. I'm really enjoying the teaching. It's always challenging and rewarding. I get on well with the kids. They think I am very funny and call me Ms. Daya. They are very curious, and it is most of the time it's easy to hold their attention as they are not exactly used to a creative or interactive learning environment. This is all new to them. The teachers here are okay, but I cannot help sense the lack of enthusiasm. People don't become teachers here because they love to teach or because they love kids. They do it because it is a job. And they beat the children, beat them, because, quote, they love them, end of quote. A little hard to stomach, I know. So I feel very blessed to be here, to be a source of inspiration for these kids, to teach and learn and give all I have to give them, a bucket of positive energy. And I must say, everyone on this side of the world, of course, cannot stop it talking about Obama. They express so much pride, and I, in return, also feel very proud. Though race relations are not terrible here in Namibia, there is undoubtedly an underlying tension. The history of apartheid is still very evident here. It is hard not to feel it. And so it is an interesting experience to be here at this very time. While I have come to hate being mistook for an Afrikaner, for the first time in my life, I think I feel very happy when I can say, no, I am not an Afrikaner, I am an American. Well, I do believe that's all I have to share for now. It is difficult to tell at once, but I am in touch and will continue to be so. I do have an address and a phone, too, if anyone should want to call. You can find phone cards specific to Namibia online, but in general it tends to be expensive, and I love letters most of all. Oh, and just something to keep in mind if you are planning to post a letter or package to me, that letters, packages, and mail in general is more likely to reach me if you write some religious slogans on the package or the letter. For example, Jesus saves, or God bless, or in the name of Christ, take your pick. I'm not very good with all that stuff, but I'm sure you can be creative. Really, this works. Apparently, if you send packages and letters and anything valuable, and it's somehow, by some mystery, the package gets opened and any valuable objects disappear. So, the address is the Ashipala Secondary School, Elim, E-L-I-M, Circuit, Private Bag, 5511, Ashakati, Namibia. No zip code. It's a little odd, but that's it. In closing, Indaya says, I must say how lucky I feel to be here, to have this opportunity. I thank you all. She's speaking to the Vineyard community. Thank you all for your support and encouragement, of which I am constantly reminded. I would not be here if it were not for all of you. I hope all is well with everyone, and I am thinking of you always. Write, drop me a line, I will be in touch too. So I will leave you now with my favorite Namibian saying, which the kids tell me all the time, quote, everything is balance, they say, meaning everything is good. It has been raining here for days now, hard, steady rain, all night long. Rain like I have never known before. Love to you all. Indaya Whitcomb, our sweetheart, scalloper, farmer and beekeeper, and now affiliated with World Teach in Namibia. That's our first correspondence since she got to the country there, where she's going to be hanging out now for the next year. We got to live without her for a whole year so she can do her thinking and try and save the world. This is the Friday Fish and Farm Report. It's a little bit of a different show today on account of I'm without the high quality help that I usually have from a musician. One of the main premises of the Fish and Farm Report, of course, is the close association between the farmers and the fishermen and those people of a creative bent, the artists, the musicians, the people who make us laugh, the people who make the songs that we sing and pluck at our heartstrings while you put in the corn and the beans and the taters and the greens and some wild harvest fish or some free-range poultry. You put it in one of these creative folks, and out comes music or a love song or a still life or a landscape. Well, there's a lot of times when you put the corn and taters and the greens and people engaged in less noble professions, and many times all you seem to get is a contribution to nutrient loading in the watersheds. And we're going to try to do something here which we've never done before, which is, I'm just kind of learning. They're talking me through it like we're flying a jet. A man was on the telephone saying, okay, when you want to switch from one to the other, you plug in that plug and we'll swing that switch down and push that other one up. And we're going to try to do this now to see if I can play a little piece of music that I japped off of one of the radio stations. I've got no way of telling if it's really going to work or not, but it isn't that long. It's called Lazy Bones is the name of it, and we're going to give it a shot.